Look, look at this blue. Xerces blue butterfly from the sand dunes of San Francisco, first known American butterfly to become extinct due to humans, first known. And as far as I can tell, this is the first creature that settler colonists admitted to uh, extincting in the state. And California was formed as a state after, uh, indigenous for millennial, uh, and then Spain, and then Mexico, and then US, and formed as a state on the premise of genocide.
Hmm.
So governor's declarations were about wiping out indigenous populations. And that was the goal plan, and changing the landscape, which means extincting people,
Hmm.
plants
Mm-hmm.
that exist. I still cannot, wrap my head around the idea. You pass by these development places where there's this nice rolling hills, and they're chopping the tops off to put houses on, or
Mm.
they're leveling things out so they can have this. Why not move to flatland for that? It makes
Mm.
no sense at all. Uh,
Mm.
this sort of calamity of changing environments to recreate something that's in someone's mind somewhere else, and destroying what's there and the value without learning anything. Uh,
Mm.
in a better world, anyone that came here would have learned the languages, would have acclimated to the cultures. Somebody in Chumash territory would have lived Chumash way if they were a good guest there, and would be speaking the languages there. And like, for instance, when you go to France and you reside there for any long period of time, you learn the language, you learn the customs, you learn the culture. That's how you buy there. If that kind of principle had been in effect, a lot of this would never have happened.
Mm.
And with the sense of colonization being such a thing, in creating the state and living in and working for the state, how can you testify to the state without noting these things? It would be impossible for me to ignore what needs to be acknowledged before really speaking about personal experience in that way.
Mm.
So there's also that respect for in place. Also going through, years and eras of different um, culture killings that have happened and are still happening in the state, including in Riverside here. Riverside, not only Tongva, Kuya, Serrano, Luiseño people originally, virtually pushed out, although there's many still living in town here, so not completely, of course, but pushed out of say over the city, and other people coming in for generations, has been going on. And at some point in time, this was the first Koreatown in the United States.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there was a Chinatown just up the street here, not far from where I live.
Mm.
And because of racism, they literally just came and razed the town
Right.
and pushed everybody into LA except for a family who refused to live, who still
Mm.
noted here and tributed here as this primary family of Riverside. But those calamities are noticed. The Japanese internment camps are noticed. A
Mm.
writer from Riverside who was interned is noticed, because these are realities and what sets the pace for what occurs in the contemporary culture,
Right.
based on these figments of, or fragments of hatred, of lack of respect, of misunderstanding. And with this butterfly, for me, it stands to testify for all of that, because it's a beautiful, beautiful, delicate, and yet strong entity, this organism, this beautiful creature that we no longer have because of simple disrespect.
Right.
Uh, so there's a call to attention at the beginning. If I might, just before that, do you mind if I read the little prelude just before that?
Please do.
Okay, so the book opens up with the prelude of my own, and then there's an epigram. So it starts out with a little invocation prelude. Once the world was gleaming, open, We entered unknowing, believing all we came to we must deserve, knowing we did not, faced extinction. And then there's an epigram from Tanya Tagaq's Retribution. The path we have taken has rotted. Ignite, stand upright, conduct yourself like lightning. And then the Xerxes blue butterfly comes in. And so the prelude sets up, creates a little invitation to understanding that when we enter anything, be it a book, be it a land space, even as guest, whether you're welcome or unwelcome guest, there's an unknowingness there. So very different from original people of the place, original people of Riverside. No matter how many generations you have here, on top of that, there's something different. And so it's a note of that, and note of entry. It also goes back to what Simon refers to as the knowing and the unknowing. And then the Tanya Tagaq, who of course is an amazing singer and storyteller and weaver of thought, and her calls to accountability and indictment and love for place and understanding that place from her knowingness, from her family lineages, is so incredible. But she also charges, the population, original peoples, to conduct yourself like lightning, in this place, to have your charge, have your thrum, have your feeling, have yourself, in a way that's powerful. So the stage is set to come to what we're facing, which is the extinctions. And throughout the book, there's a weaving as well of, and songscape for me, of experiences in that climate, personal experiences, violence upon the person, members of the family. My mother, for instance, came down from Alberta, Canada, via Montreal, where she had been put in a war widows, post-World War II war widows training for some of the first physiotherapists in the country, before it was a doctorate degree program and all that. Back then it was, you were in, you did the training, you went to work, because of a brand new field and they had polio all over. And she came down to work in California, and my dad came out to work in California at the same time. They met on a blind date in San Diego, honeymooned in Mexico and San Francisco, left for other jobs in other places. So they were here before us, and there's this sense of the knowing that kind of skips in there and comes through the different portals of that. And at one point in time, when I moved them out to California, they had been in Santa Paula for a very long time, maybe already a couple of decades, it seems to me. And I got a call. I was teaching in northern Michigan, and my dad said, do you know where your mom's green card is? And I said, yeah, why? And he said, do you know where her naturalization papers are? Yeah, why? I said, I just packed that box. I'm moving to New Mexico. And he said, I need them faxed right now. Here's the fax number for INS. Here's the fax number for IRS. And what had happened was he found out IRS on the taxes had been cheating them basically for years, because they had mom's citizenship date as her birth date. So they weren't getting all their senior citizen kickbacks. And so he called them on it and wanted the money. And so the INS came to their trailer in this little senior park in Santa Paula and asked her when was her last time she went to Mexico. And she, said their honeymoon and they're too old to travel and all that. And they loaded her up in the van because she didn't have citizenship paper. And she's from Alberta, Canada. And they told my dad he could have her back if he could prove she was a citizen.
Oh my gosh.
Threw her away, and she was in her 80s.
Well, that's the line from the poem, right? It's basically like, you or the speaker saying, hey, she's Canadian.
Yeah.
And it was something to the effect of, she's Mexican enough.
Yeah, that was me saying,
wow.
Dad on the phone, she's Canadian. Yeah. And he said, California Mexican enough. Short black hair, dark eyes, put her in the van. She doesn't have a citizenship card, put her in a van.
Wow.
legally blind, so she wasn't driving or anything. So no state ID on her. And in her 80s, she wasn't going anywhere.
Mm.
And they were just little old people in their trailer, one bedroom trailer, not
Right.
bothering anyone. But he asked them for the money back, and that was their response. IRS called INS, and
Wow.
they picked her up. So she was almost deported to Mexico. They
What a
literally
convoluted
had
story.
her, in determined. She was held until I could get them the information.
Well, there's so much in there about the dehumanization, like you're just talking about, obviously about racism and white supremacy.
Yeah,
One of the lines that really struck me was, and you're working with one of the older gentlemen in the Tenderloin, and it was something to the effect of like he or we were two generations from fluency,
yeah, yeah,
right? Indigenous peoples, and how far away yet slash how close those histories are to us. There's
yeah,
obviously a lot about the homeless and gentrification, displacement, obviously, of all kinds, intrusions, um, and there's an accountability for, accountability called for genocides for of peoples. Again, you list the groups, I mean, in that amazing, I don't know, 4 or 5 pages, you list so many of these species that are, I guess, extinct or at least threatened, right?
yeah. Yes, both. And
Yeah.
some of that was also from my studies when I was a historical interpreter, and some of it was newer. While I was writing, I was also literally researching simultaneously, some for spellings of plants I didn't necessarily have the spellings for,
Sure.
and but was familiar with more common names for them, kind of thing.
Mm.
And others because it was like, well, what is like today? What's going today? So I was peppering it as well at the same time with updates, my memory with updates, and earlier research. So, the plants, the earth is the basis of everything. Aristotelian culture, Western Europe, uh, man is like, some kind of king, and independence in a human being is like everything except the state. The government, the state that one lives in rules all of that. And then the
Mm.
independent person. And then we get down through structures of other life forms, and mammals come next because they have, same way of giving birth, and on down through this system and this order that was created by this person who'd probably roll in his grave if he knew,
Arbitrary, right?
right? And then here it's very different because in that structure, the dust is the dirt beneath your feet is like nothing. It's just there to resource. But in the original sense for this part of the world, this the Western Hemisphere, the Occidental Hemisphere, and island nations, the Earth is everything. The sky is everything. The cosmos is everything. The waters are everything. And so it's that base first, and then the creatures upon it, and the respect for all of the creatures and kinship value to creatures within an environment which teaches people language,
Mm.
because living in a particular environment constructs a language because you are adhering to what's around you. So your thoughts, your concepts are in that place. And so the language is generated by the environment, by all of these creatures, and by what exists there. And so that takes precedence.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes down to it, we're just lowly, we're just here to serve this environment, to take care of it, to yes, nourish from it, yes, have sustenance from it, but out of respect for and replenishment and restoration and reciprocity are like everything. So it's a whole different mindscape
Mm.
that is utterly important to living within an environment
Mm.
and to taking care of it properly, so we don't end up in what we've ended up in, through the sense of uh, capitalization, resourcing,
Mm.
feudalism when you get down to it, monarchies, kingships, this domain, and eminent domain, these kind of
Sure.
structures and contracts which put people into places of destruction. So it's sort of a little détournement to flip things around, faced with the facts of the matter, and bring in the more beautiful aspects after seeing, how this plays out. And so the song is really, or the poem is really
Mm.
playing out the scape of things as they are, as they've been, and holding that present, to hopefully encourage to flip all of this, and find a deeper space.
Well, there's a profound line talking about, the commodification, the, like you said, eminent domain and such. The line is, let state, small s, be free of the state, capital S.
Yeah, thanks.
Right. and
Yeah.
and just, just the connections you make are amazing. I mean, there are connections, but you make them more direct, even, just ideas of dehumanization, and, decline. So sad, the story of like Gabriel Fernandez, the kid from Palmdale,
Yeah.
the homophobia of his family, the abuse in his family,
Wow.
right? ICE, and, you write the use of force, use of cold. I'm
Yeah.
talking about ICE, the,
Yeah.
customs and enforcement.
Absolutely.
Right. And, to you individually, how many times, I'm paraphrasing here, how many times was I given up,
Mhm.
objectified, rejected, left for dead?
Mhm.
And it's, I'm over, I don't want to Mickey Mouse and say, but it ends on a hopeful note. But like you said, there's love there for the state. And, one of the excerpts is about let, let love lead, let hand that pummeled rest, let scowl rest, face relieve, let shoulders locked high, tight recede, let back stiff, sore, bent open, take heart, earth hears every tremble touch, feels every foot, listens now, brings her justice, protection, and peace. And that's not the end of it, the Mitchell line is, but in a way that's, full circle of, you talk about the, stewardship of the earth and service to. And, as we kind of wrap up here, just, I'm doubly amazed that this was written in a weekend. uh
Yeah.
I mean, just, what a document, what a incredible, like, recollection of this time, but also something that's universal, and without, outside of time. And, congratulations on all of the great work you do. We haven't
Thank
even scratched
you.
the surface about all the service work you do. And your writing is definitely a service. So thanks so much for letting us, get inside the head and hear some of the rationale and the background. It's just been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. And yeah, the Let Love Lead is an interlude in the book. So also,
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much for having me, Peter. I'm in awe of
Pleasure.
the podcast. You're doing such great work for all of us in literature, but also for the readers, So thank you for doing your work, being who you are in the world, and for helping put this in place. Thank you so much.
That means so much. Thank you. And I hope, maybe we can meet in real life. And, there's some great ones down in Riverside and the Inland Empire
Yeah,
in LA. And,
uh,
California, we've got some incredible talent here. So,
I would love to do that. Let's do it.
and enjoy the awards, and enjoy everything that's coming up.
Oh, thank you. And all love to you and your kids. Take
Thank you.
care.
Thank you so much.